Thank you for joining us on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, we'll be talking about Vooch wanting to sign a contract extension with the Chicago Bulls. We'll also talk about, do the Bulls need to pay the luxury tax, and will they pay it this season to be a true championship contender? And then last, we'll talk about the reported interest that the Bulls have in Nikola Vucevic. We'll get into all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, where it's your team every day. We're also a member of the Locked On Podcast Network. And before we get started, I do want to talk to you guys about NBA Draft Night. On Draft Night Live, one show is not enough. So every Locked On show is going to be going live during Draft Night. So join me and Pat for 15 minutes after our pick. With Locked On Bulls, we're going to be breaking down that pick, what it means for the Chicago Bulls, and we'll also have a live episode shortly thereafter. So make sure you're tuned in and hit the bell notification to get notified when we go live. Now, that's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze.
Hey.
I'm Haize, host and creator of the Chicago Bulls Central. And so we're about to get into these Bulls topics, man. Today was a quieter day than yesterday. It still was some stuff to drop, but it was a much quieter day. And one of the things that happened coming on the back end of the day is that Vooch apparently does want to sign a contract extension with the Chicago Bulls. Now, when you pair that with like all the rumors, the Gobert trade, the John Collins trade, everything like that, the thing that's more than likely probably going to happen is Vooch signing an extension for a 1 or 2 year extension with the Chicago Bulls. And you said that before. So what do you think about this with Vooch wanting to sign an extension? Does this kill any big trade talk? What do you think?
I don't know if it kills it yet, right? Like he's got to sign it. And until he does sign it, I think you at least have to think that the trade talk is still alive, right? If the Bulls are front runners for Gobert, Vooch is probably a part of that deal. Whether he wants to sign an extension with the Chicago Bulls doesn't mean that it will. But I don't think that it's a bad thing that Vooch wants to sign an extension here. Again, Vooch is not like, I feel like we look at Vooch like he's this long forgotten, aged out player that we're expecting to give us 25 and 19 a night, right? Like Vooch is our third option on this team, and you're hoping for the foreseeable future he will continue to be the third option on this team. If your third option is giving you 17 and 11, now albeit I'd rather have it on a little bit better shooting percentage, Vooch, if you can work on the three-point shot out of the corner out in the end, I mean. But if he's able to give you that on a higher shooting percentage, 17 and 11, 19 and 11, and have those pop-off games, you need a player like that. I've said this many a times on this channel. I've said it on the Windy City Breeze. Chicago would have hated Chris Bosh. They'd have hated Chris Bosh's guts. Bro, because he'd have been the third option, and it'd have been, you're not doing what you did when you were in Toronto, and why aren't you giving us 21 and 10? Because he's not being asked to do the same things. Now, do I think that there's some things that you need to do if you're going to re-sign Vooch to complement him? Yes, and I think that's going to take place this offseason to help Vooch out down there, right? But you don't want to scoff at a guy that on a bad night still continues to give you a double-double, because especially on a team that struggled rebounding the basketball. How many times every night were we like, why isn't Vooch doing more? Because his next tallest dude next to him is 6'4".
6'4". 6'4" power forward for the majority of the season. Come on, fam. Listen, I get the critique. Like, yes, Vooch is not a perfect player. Vooch does need to work on that three-point shooting percentage or shoot less of them. And maybe we need to see Vooch's game adapt to the point to where he's more of a back-to-the-basket center, because guess what? When he does that, he's elite at that damn near. Now, I'm not even going to say damn near. He's elite at that when he's on. The thing also, on top of Vooch playing better, Billy Donovan needs to game plan for Vooch better as well. I get it. He is the third option, but we saw so many games last season that Vooch in the first half had 9 to 10 points on high efficiency scoring, and then he got the ball like 4 times in the second half. That's not going to cut it. You got to go to the hot hand. And so hopefully the combination of a better overall team, a better built and better constructed team that helps cover up some of Vooch's deficiencies, on top of better game planning as well. Because I tell you what, I'm not on the Billy Donovan fire train at all like some Bulls fans are, but there are certain aspects with almost every player on this team that I feel like they weren't used in the best capacity at different times of the season. So hopefully with a extra season of that, an extra training camp, an extra, everything like that, that we see a better version of the Bulls offense and a more balanced version. But key thing, you hit the nail on the head. A big thing that's going to change and make things easier on Vooch is just having Patrick Williams next to him the whole season.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing you got to look at, right? Like, there's a lot of slander. I think there's a lot of things that we can say about Billy Donovan, as far as him continuing with Vooch, but it was a need for the Bulls this season, right? Like, I think the biggest thing that the Bulls need to do is not make that a need, make that an asset, make that a accentuation of this team. Last season, we needed to go to the hot hand because Zach LaVine dealt with injury. Alex Caruso wasn't there. Lonzo Ball wasn't there, right? Those guys being there changes how much we need Vooch. We were rolling in the beginning of the season when Vooch was struggling. And listen, he's done it every season of his career. Fully expect at the beginning of this season, Vooch is going to have some struggles and he's going to still. So you need those guys, right, to kind of rally around him early in this thing until he finally finds his groove, his shot, and what he's going to be able to do to give you that 17, 19, and 11, 12 a game, right? So I think that there's going to be a lot of interesting moves made this offseason that will help Vooch. And I think that's something that's going to need to be there to help Vooch because I can expect everything in the world. You can have every argument for why he should be knocking down shots. And I agree. They were wide open threes in the corner a lot of times. You got to be able to knock those down. But it's a lot harder when you're being asked to do everything when it comes to inside the paint, rebounding, defense, everything.
They played
and then
four
on top
out.
of that, go down on the other end and knock down this shot.
They played 4 out. Literally, they would run back on defense to get back in defensive position and just leave Vooch there to get the rebound. So, like, when you look at that, like I said, I think we're gonna have a much better constructed team, and that's gonna go into the next topic that we're gonna go into as well. One thing that I do want to talk to you about this. So, Vooch, I think this thing about Vooch signing extension, if it does happen, it almost to me goes hand in hand with what the Bulls do with the 18th pick. Do you think they keep that 18th pick? Where do you sit right now? It could change. We're still about 48 hours from the draft.
Yep.
Do they keep it? Do they trade it? I know you've more so said that you expect them to trade the pick early on. With everything that's coming out now, do you still sit there?
I still feel like they'll trade the pick. I feel like the value on a Rudy Gobert deal is dropping dramatically because we're getting really, really, really close to the draft and nobody's banging on Utah's door to go get a Rudy Gobert. So I think the Bulls will still end up moving that pick in some sort of deal in that fashion. Which could leave us Voochless, right? And at the end of the day, that's how I've kind of felt about it this whole time. I thought AK was going to make a big move. I think the core that he wants to keep together more so has to do with Zach LaVine, DeMar, P. Will, Io, Lonzo. You know what I'm saying? And maybe Vooch ends up being odd man out in that situation. But if you go out and you make a pick at 18, I don't have a problem with that either. Like, this is the first time in, my God, maybe going back to Jordan, where I really feel like the Chicago Bulls are in the driver's seat. Like, I never felt like the Bulls with the Derrick Rose years were in the driver's seat on what their future was. You felt great about Derrick, but then you realized you couldn't get anybody that wanted to come here and play because of Garpax and being in the front office and the poor coaching job that was happening.
Well, that also is going to go into our second topic as well, but we'll get into that soon.
Yeah, facts. So I think it'll be interesting. Like, for me, it's the first time where either decision AK makes, I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, I mean, in AK we trust, like, honestly, and I know that's become like a mantra, but it's really like, I do trust what they're going to do. Now, that doesn't mean that if something, like I said before, I have questions about a Rudy Gobert fit on this team. I have absolute questions about it, but I still trust AK to do enough things around the team because it's not like it's a vacuum. It's not like the Bulls are going to make a Rudy Gobert move if that is the move, and then they're just going to be like, you know what, we're done, run everything else back. Yeah, no, that's not that's not what's going to happen.
Shoot last year, Rudy.
So yeah, man. I mean, we are in a really good position, and even looking like at the players that as the mocks keep updating, every player that's really around that Bulls pick, I feel confident in. And then I also feel confident that I don't necessarily. I know that we've had this conversation, but I don't think that it's going to be Kobe and the 18th pick. I really do think, especially when you hear like Golden State's trying to move their pick. Not saying that Kobe would go to Golden. I'm not saying that, but like when you hear just some of the teams that are interested in giving up their pick, that we can probably get rid of Kobe and get a 25th to 30th pick.
And I think, I mean, in that situation, right? Are you moving or are you drafting?
Oh, I'm drafting. I'm drafting I'm going 18th. I'm going EJ and 20. That lower pick, I'm going extremely high upside. Whoever they feel has the most upside in the draft,
Yeah.
that's who I'm picking.
Kofi Coburn, you got it. Let's go.
No, that's not going to happen. But let's go ahead before we get into the next topic, where we're going to be talking about the Bulls possibly paying the luxury tax. Got to talk to you guys about BetOnline. Now, you already know BetOnline is the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. The fact that they got golf on there is wild. Golf is sometimes the forgotten sport. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Yeah.
Oh, that is not the right sound effect. And I'm keeping that in because that's hilarious. Wow. Oh. There we go. Get into the next topic.
There's a Twilight Zone out here somewhere, man.
Hey, man, listen, that was hilarious, bro. Wow. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Bulls possibly paying the luxury tax. And we're going to start here. There have only been 6 teams in the history since the luxury tax have been a thing that have won the NBA championship without paying the luxury tax. Pat, do you want to guess on what those teams are?
Say Lakers. I would say Cavaliers.
Nope.
I'm right on Lakers.
You're right on Lakers from the season that they won with ADS. That's
okay,
correct.
Lakers.
Which is
Brian didn't make them. Brian really hasn't made. He's made a lot of money, but I mean, he hasn't made comparably. Let's go. Let's rapid fire it. Champions. Lakers. I'll say Golden State.
Okay.
Boston Celtics.
Nope.
No. Okay. I know the Bulls haven't done it because, good Lord, they weren't paying nobody there. Who else has won?
They weren't even paying Scotty.
Right. They didn't. Hey, Scotty was taking a meal out here, bro.
All right. So it was the Miami Heat in 2006. The Spurs.
Okay. 06. That I didn't think about that. That got me.
Spurs in 2014. The Golden State Warriors in both 15 and 17. The Lakers of last season, and then the Milwaukee Bucks last season as well. That's it. So, with that being said, considering that we're talking about possibly bringing in Rudy Gobert, the $40 million deal that is, what that means for the team, do you think that the Bulls have to operate as the big market team that they are? That we've never operated as a big market team. We might as well be. I don't even know who's a small market team. Yeah, name the smallest market team in the NBA. They probably paid the luxury tax more than we have. What is it? OKC probably? OKC's probably paid the.
I was thinking OKC, maybe Orlando.
Yeah, definitely paid the luxury tax more than we have. Do you think that that's a requirement? Is that a sign of how in you are on trying to win a title? And do you think the Bulls are going to have to get to that now that we're going to have probably Zach LaVine on a max contract? Are we going to have to go into that luxury tax to truly be a title contender?
I think it depends on what they do this offseason, and then after that, right, what P. Will is, right? Like if P. Will develops into what AK believes P. Will is, no, you don't. And that's the reason you don't see a ton of teams all the time have to go into it, right? Because guess what? Stephen Curry developed into that player. Klay Thompson developed into that player. Tim Duncan and all of them developed into that player, right? So like that's why you see years and moments in time where like there's like no, we gotta go all in on this. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's not. See, this is the thing, right? I view the Chicago Bulls very differently than most people do. The greatest line of all time is what? The Bulls are cheap. The Bulls are cheap. The White Sox are cheap. White Sox actually are cheap.
The White Sox are
cheap.
Yes.
But so I'll take that off. The Bulls are cheap. The Bears are cheap. Chicago's cheap. They're just cheap. But no, they're not cheap. You know what I'm saying? I was here when we paid Khalil Mack. I was here when we paid Julius Peppers. I remember Carlos Boozer having one of the highest contracts in the NBA. I remember we just paid the wrong people. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Joakim Noah wouldn't say that the Chicago Bulls are cheap. Derrick Rose would not say that the Chicago Bulls are cheap. So, like, I feel like sometimes we say, oh, you got to spend this money if you're going to get there. And I don't think that's the case. I think it depends on the circumstances you're in, right? If you feel like a team of Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and Rudy Gobert get you a championship, and you got to go into the luxury tax to get you that, spend it. And it just depends on what the situation is, right? Listen, if KD all of a sudden doesn't want to be in Brooklyn, guess what? You're going to have to find a way to get into the luxury tax to have him on the team. But I bet you they're going to create some space.
The thing is, I think there's two things here, right? The Bulls have never paid the luxury tax because they've been very smart. They paid the luxury tax once. It was in 2014, and that following season, they literally sold everything, right? But that was Derrick Rose' second meniscus tear. So they were like, hey, man, we ain't finna be paying the luxury tax and our superstars out. But with that being said, the reason why the Bulls have not paid the luxury tax is in big part, not in full, but is in large part to the fact that free agents weren't coming here. If Tracy McGrady would have come here, guess what? The Bulls would have been paying the luxury tax. If Carmelo Anthony that season, no, the Bulls would have been paying the luxury tax that season, bro. That following season, not the season we would have signed him, but the following season we would have been paying the luxury tax.
Well, oh, you talking about if we had got him in free agency? I was like,
we would have got him in free agency, not the draft.
I was like, well, we could have drafted him, but
yeah, that too. The season with Carmelo Anthony, we had that cap space then, but that following season, we would have been in the luxury tax had they signed here. The thing is that the big time free agents have not come to Chicago, and because they have not come to Chicago, the front office then said, "Hey, listen, yeah, we're going to pay a lot for Carlos Boozer, but guess what? Carlos Boozer he was borderline star. He's not a superstar.
Yeah,
we're not going to pay the luxury tax for that. Yeah. Derrick Rose, listen, you got to put it on your back, brother. But with that being said, I do think, and this is not to excuse because listen, a big part of why we couldn't get free agents because nobody trusted Gar Pax and nobody wanted to play for them. So that's a bad thing. Now that we have a front office that is showing and proving to the league that they're going to keep improving the team, I do think if we get that marquee free agent to pair with Zach LaVine, that there's not going to be any issue in paying the luxury tax. I believe it, looking at what Michael Reinsdorf had said. I believe that is, again, I think we need to also keep in mind, Jerry isn't running the team anymore. It's Michael who's running the team.
Man,
so
the Bulls.
The Bulls, yes.
The Bulls. Tony La Russa is my manager.
Yeah, for sure. I'm talking about this team that we're covering on this podcast, brother. Come on, man.
Hey, man, Jerry owned a lot of teams out here. Right?
Jerry owned a lot of stuff, period.
Jerry's just out here owning stuff. Yeah, good Lord.
Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised with the Reinsdorf if they do decide to sell the Bulls. Don't be surprised if the Reinsdorfs find a way to slide in on that. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, you talking about the Bears?
The Bears. I said the Bulls.
Yeah, you said Bears. The Bulls. I was like, man, didn't they already? Did I miss something? No, listen, and here's the thing, right? Again, it depends on the circumstance. I'm not mad at it because it shows me that you're going for it. Yeah, are you going to have to kick the can down the road and figure out what that's going to cost you later? For sure. You know why that doesn't matter? Because if you're winning and you're making the NBA Finals all the time, you're making money. You know what I'm saying? Chicago is one of the best places in the world to be. You think it's not going to sell out? We were selling out. We didn't make it out of the first round. Cristiano Felicio had a ticket to the playoff game this year. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be fine one way or the other. But yeah, if need be, right? Like if that name pops up on the docket that says, hey, you know what? And I think there's a two things, right? I think there's always been people that wanted to play with Derrick Rose, but realize like as you go in there, Thibs is kind of set in his ways and things are going to be his way and it's going to be this. And so you're not really going to have that ascendant moment as much as you would if you go doing your own thing. And I got to deal with Garpax. None of that's there anymore. Zach LaVine is no problem playing off of people and allowing them to get theirs while he still gets his. That's appealing to a lot of people. There's a lot of people that want to play with a player that's willing to be like that, right? And then on top of that, hey, Billy Donovan, whether you like him or not, he's a really good head coach. He's one of the best head coaches in the NBA right now. And on top of that, now the Bulls have one of the best front offices in the NBA right now. Oh, wow. Like we have an organization. There's something that people want to come to.
Ooh, that's a bar, bro. Stop. Hold on. Pause. We gotta acknowledge the bar you just dropped. We have an organization. Listen, that's a bar. That's a bar.
We got an organization, bro. Like that's different. We haven't been able to say, and I think I said this on either on here or on the Breeze, one of them, they be running together. we have never been able to say that we have consistent leadership at every position. We have leadership on the floor. We have leadership on the sidelines. We have leadership at the GM position, leadership at the front office, leadership at the ownership position. If they want to pay the luxury tax, guess what? I feel like they're making the right move because in the last couple of years, they've shown me that these are the moves that it takes to not only become a winning team, but to become a playoff team again. And it's been 2 years. Jim Boylan was here 3 years ago.
That's wild, fam. That is wild.
Bro, feels like 10 years. He was here 3 years ago.
Night and day, bro. Night and day. And that's what hopefully we're saying the same thing about the Bears next season. But that's the story for
that's a whole different situation. Listen. I said there's leadership at every position. You still got Georgia at ownership. That's a whole different thing, though, man. Hey, man, but before we get into this final topic, man, we really got to tell you guys about Built Bar. Yep, you already know what I'm finna say. Y'all already know how Built Bar reads go down, and you know how our friends at Built Bar are always coming out with something new amazing flavors, new product all the time. Well, this time Built has truly outdone themselves with the new mud pie flavor. Now, hear me out on this. And for the first time ever, you said what?
Did you get your sample?
You got samples, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
and I will say that mud pie is fire.
Yeah,
go ahead, keep going.
No, I don't get the samples. I have to pay for mine. That's okay though. And for the first time ever, Built is introducing a new mud pie flavor in both mud pie bar and mud pie puff. Stop. Just let it breathe, bro. Just let it breathe. You're not sure what the mud pie tastes like? Well, if you like chocolate, you'd better sit down. The new mud pie bar is rich with rich whipped cream. Good Lord, I can't talk right now. And chocolate mousse smothered in 100% real chocolate and topped with cookies and cream crumble. Bruh, I know it sounds fat, but it's not. I'm telling you, it's one of the most healthy things you can eat on the market right now. You're talking about only 150 calories and 8 grams of sugar. And it's like your mom baked it. Oh, by the way, on top of that, it's got 16 grams of protein. So you're going to love the new Mud Pie Built Bar and Built Puff. Whether you need a snack for a workout, late night treat, or just to grab a quick bite, Built is the perfect protein bar, and they taste better than the candy bar. So what I need y'all to do right now, go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order, which apparently I'll be doing again. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Your stomach will thank you on that one. I'm telling you right now, Built Bar is coming out crazy out here, bro.
I need Built Bar to come out with more flavors with caramel in it, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Next up, to end the show, we're gonna be talking about a free agent that the Bulls could possibly have interest in, and this is Nicola Batum. Now, we talked about PJ Tucker yesterday. I like Nicola Batum a little bit more in that role. Like, yeah, he's not as tough as PJ Tucker. Let me be clear here. He is not as tough or versatile as PJ Tucker, but he comes in considerably cheaper.
Was there a question that he was tougher?
Oh no, I just want to be clear for anybody who says, "Oh, well, Nicola Batum gives us the same thing PJ Tucker does." No, because you're looking at stats. Watch the game. No, but I still do like Nicola Batum. Potentially, go ahead.
No, I like Nic Batum. I think he's a pretty versatile player. He's a player that can, I feel like he's a player that never had the ascension that a lot of people thought he was gonna have. Right, Nic Batum, first stint with the Lakers, literally did everything.
Let's stint with it when he was in Portland with Brandon Roy. It looked like they were going to be the nice 1-2 when LaMarcus. They looked like they were going to have a nice little trio there.
Bro, he literally was the third option on that team, right? And they kind of did everything, and so you felt good about a Nic Batum coming out of there. And he hasn't really panned out to that, but he's still a really nice veteran. I wouldn't be mad at the Bulls going to get a Nic Batum because you need solid guys that are going to be able to fill out this bench. At a minimum, he's able to shoot. I don't know if I'd say he's able to defend. I don't know if what's a defensive rating on a Nic Batum, bro? It can't be that.
I'll look that up. Keep going.
It can't be too high. Nic Batum, not a great defender, not a terrible defender either, right? Somewhere in the middle. He stays in front of you, but I think that he can be a savvy vet.
His defensive rating the last 3 years have all been better than PJ Tucker's. 110.2.
It's still not good, but yeah.
That's around league average. So we can say he's an average defender.
Yeah. So he's an average player. I don't expect him to give you much. The exciting part about it is, right, he can give you something. And like you said, he's much cheaper than PJ Tucker. Like, you're probably getting Batum in here at what? Probably about $5 million.
His contract that he was on was 2.2. So I like to use that
3
as a
mil?
basis. I think we can get him about 3.5.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be mad at it, Nic Batum. What do you think, man? You think how do you think he would fit coming off of the bench for this Bulls team?
in my opinion, the way I look at a Nic Batum signing, if he comes in, is that he'd basically be replacing Troy Brown Jr., right? He'll probably be replacing Troy Brown Jr. and Matt Thomas at the same time. He'll probably get both of their minutes to get a few minutes per game. And I like him better in that position. He's more consistent. So better defensive rating.
I'm a weirdo, right? And I feel like Matty Legend ain't get enough shots in that mug. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, hey, Matt was a horrible defender. Hey, don't look up his defensive rating at all. He was awful. There's no number that can quantify how Matt Thomas was always getting crossed up. But I feel like you got to get like Matt Thomas. I feel like he gonna leave and he gonna be like Struce somewhere. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Matt Thomas's defensive rating was 117. That's god awful.
Yeah,
he was getting cooked.
Hey, on a regular basis, brother. Like, anytime Matt Thomas was in the game, you couldn't even like game plan for him on defense. Like, it was just like dribble.
Here's the
left
thing.
and right.
I'm about to throw you for a loop. Nicholas Batum shot the 3 ball last year at a 40% clip and took 2 more threes per game than what Matt Thomas took.
Yeah, but Matt Thomas didn't play half the season.
But I'm just saying. But I'm saying
again, I wouldn't be mad at a Nic Batum.
Yeah.
I'd probably rather have him than the 6'1" scrappy white guy that does seem to make up every great Bulls team. I'm not gonna lie to you, right? Like, every great Bulls team is it's really Kirk Heinrich the entire time. But every great Bulls team is right.
We just find different shades of Kurt Heinrich. Like, Arch was like 60%. Nah, I'm giving him too much. Like,
I was gonna say, relax there,
like 49% of Kurt Heinrich.
Yeah, I'm saying, and Kirk is just knockoff Steve Kerr.
Yeah,
I mean, you gotta have that scrappy dude on the team. Guess
technically,
what?
statistically, Kurt Heinrich's a better shooter than Steve Kerr as well. So you know.
Well, he does hold the Bulls. Well, does he still? No, Zach
took it. Yeah.
For most 3-pointers as a Chicago Bull. Kirk is now number 2, which is wild. That tells you how many great shooters we had on our team. But nah, man, I like Nic Batum in a Bulls jersey. I'll ask you this, right? We've talked about a lot of these free agents, and I think Nic Batum is a good one to ask about because he's somebody that you're talking about probably coming in and wanting to try and win a ring. I don't think Nic Batum's ever been Clippers, Charlotte, Portland. No, so he's never won a ring. Yeah. Do you think these free agents view the Chicago Bulls as a place, especially the older ones, where you can win a ring not only next season, but maybe stick around and win a couple of them? Do you think?
I think, and that's why I've been saying, like, Nicholas Batum to me is a third wave free agent signing. You have to get right. You have to take care of better things first. And I think if you can improve this bench, I think Nicholas Batum comes on a 1+1 deal, maybe just a flat out 2-year deal, and say, hey, let's see what we can do. I wouldn't be surprised with that.
I mean, that's a big step there, right? To say that you took that step in 3 years where players actually view you as a place where they have an ability to possibly win a championship, right? Because I don't think, I think there's players who do sign for the most amount of money, right? Like, of course, like we've seen that, but I think there's a lot of players out there who still want to go to a team that you can sign for good money and get you an opportunity to win. If you see a lot of, and AK said it, right? Like, there's people that want to be here. There's people that were asking to come to Chicago, and we just weren't able to get it done at that time. If you're having that kind of impact on the league now, it could be a whole different ball game for the Chicago Bulls moving forward. Because we've never seen a Chicago Bulls team, minus maybe the championship teams, where a free agent really wanted to come here.
First of all, the one free agent that Derrick Rose did recruit was Kurt Heinrich when he came back to the Chicago Bulls. He absolutely wanted to come back.
Thanks, Haize. Appreciate you for that great Bulls.
So don't ever disrespect Captain Kirk and what a big free agent signing. No, let me stop playing.
What would we have done without him? Didn't he get like 3 for 15 or something like that?
I can't remember, but he got one of those legacy deals again.
Yeah.
And you know, Kirk is a Reinsdorf guy. Like that's why I'm surprised that we don't see Kirk around more because Reinsdorf loved Kurt Heimer.
I think
Like,
Kirk's back in Kansas. I
do
tried to
you
look him. I
do
tried to
you
look him up
remember?
to get him on a show one day, and I was like, I can't even find his agent anymore.
That's funny. Do you remember when, like that offseason that we went out and got Boozer and everybody, and Jerry Reinsdorf was in an interview, asked about it. He was like, the one player that I hate that we had to trade Kirk. It was like, come on, fam. The best free agency that we've had since the dynasty era. And like, come on, man. But you know,
Can't believe we got rid of Kirk, brother.
can't believe we got rid of Kirk.
Oh, Kirk. You shall be missed. Like, are you crying over Kirk Heinrich right now?
Yeah, Jerry loved Kirk. But all that being said, like if Nic Batum does become a Chicago Bull, it's not. I don't hate the deal, but it's not. To me, that's not registering as like a big time free agent signing. It's a very good depth piece to the bench.
That's what it is.
But that's what it is. Yeah, that's all it is.
It's a fill out piece. It's a you got to make this move because you now need shooters off of your bench that actually are going to be able to knock down a shot. And I will say this: I've watched a lot of Nic Batum games.
He's cooked the Bulls a lot of times.
He's cooked the Bulls a lot of times, but outside of that, Nic Batum don't really be out here cooking. You know what I'm saying? So like,
I mean,
we got to understand what Nic Batum is. You know what I mean? Like he's not exactly.
He's a good system player. He's a player that you look at. If you have him on your team, you say, hey, when he has his solid 8 and 5 games, like you're looking at like, hey, listen, Nick did his thing tonight. He played his role very well tonight.
Yeah,
he's going to hit a couple of big time threes for you. He's going to get a couple of big time blocks for you. And that's really about it.
Hey, you need a lot more people to step up if Nic Batum is what you're relying on, is what I'm saying.
Listen, all I'm saying
don't, like Bulls fans, don't think you're getting Batum in here and he's the answer.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's not the answer to anything. He's making the end of the bench much better than what it was last season. That's all he's there for.
100%. So, 100%.
But that's it today, bro.
Hey man, gotta love it. Gotta love it. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love for another week, man. Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls, and you can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer, man. Y'all stay safe.
You can follow me at CEO Haize at CEO Haize. And thank you, as always, for making Locked On Bulls your first listen. Now, for your second listen, go and listen to NBA mock draft. Like you gotta check it out. They do their thing over there. It's amazing. The draft, as of the time this episode is dropped, the draft is tomorrow. So you need to do your brushing up because I'm sure they're probably panicking and worried. Freaking John Wall opted into his $42 million contract, and the Houston Rockets like, hey, we're gonna work something out. We're gonna.
Oh my God, bro.
It's gonna be wild times, man. But go and check them out. They're available wherever you get your podcast. If you're listening to us, they're available there. But that is it for us for today. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. PTSDB, damn, we out. Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all.